Well, welcome to everyone on this nice evening we have right now on May 25th, 2021 for our regular meeting of council. And I'll call this meeting to order. Any announcements by anyone? Okay, we will move down to a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Beck.
Thank you very much, Mayor Philip. So I motion to, pardon me, my motion is that I move to approve the Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 regular meeting of council agenda as presented.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peterson, anything to add? See none, all those in favor? Carried. Move down to approval of the minutes. Motion, please. Councillor C.
Move to adopt the minutes from the May 10th, 2021 regular meeting of council as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Ramage. Any questions? See none, all those in favor? Carried. Move down to admin reports. I see a few motions that we have tonight, so we'll turn it over to Finance Manager Rosenthal Heber.
Good evening, Mayor Philip, Chuck and Council. I consider at tonight's meeting. The first item I have is an amendment to the bylaw to provide for the imposition of penalties for late payment of taxes. At the regular meeting of council on May 25th, council approved an amendment to the above mentioned bylaw, amending the property tax due date deadline from August 31st to October 31st for the 2020 tax levy to assist City of Warman residents with any financial constraints they might be experiencing during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time, the intention was to move the due date back to the original date of August 31st for the 2021. The recommendation I have is that the tax penalty bylaw as presented be given the first, second, and third readings at this regular meeting of council.
Okay, motion please. Councillor Beck.
All right, so I move that bylaw 2021-05, a bylaw of the City of Warman to provide for the imposition of penalties for late payments of taxes be read a first time.
Seconder. Councillor Ramage. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried.
Thank you. The next item I have is the mill rate bylaw. Oh, sorry.
Motion for second reading. Councillor Peterson.
I move that bylaw 2021-05 be read a second time.
Seconder. Councillor Johnson. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Motion to have three readings. Councillor C.
Make the motion that bylaw 2021-05 be given all three readings at this regular meeting of council.
Seconder. Councillor Johnson. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. On third reading. Councillor C.
Again, make a motion that bylaw 2021-05, a bylaw of the City of Warman to provide for the imposition of penalties for late payments of taxes be read a third time and passed.
Seconder. Councillor Beck. Any final questions or comments? I know we discussed this at the committee of the whole. Okay, see none. All those in favor? Carried. Manager Rosenthal.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm in too much of a hurry tonight. The second item I have is the mill rate bylaw. It's important to note that 2021 was a revaluation year. This revaluation saw across the City of Warman as a whole a total assessment value decrease. Please be aware that the Ministry of Government Relations amended the percentage of value for the commercial class from 100% to 85% to mitigate the potential impact of the revaluation to the commercial class. As additional information, prior to 2017, the city of Warman utilized a commercial mill rate factor of 1.19. The 2017 reassessment year saw a significant increase in commercial assessments in the city, partly due to commercial growth and partly due to increased commercial assessment values. Administration mitigated this increase by dropping the mill rate factor from 1.19 to 0.87, which was a 27% decrease at that time. It is important to note that Warman is the only municipality to have reduced the commercial mill rate factor below 1. Administration has prepared some options for council to consider regarding tax policy. In summary, option 6 begins moving towards a commercial uniform mill rate with the mill rate factor halfway between the current 0.87 and the uniform mill rate of 1 at 0.94. This option also increases base tax by $50. These two factors combined lead to a slight mill rate increase from a slight mill rate decrease from 5.74 in 2020 to 5.72. Administration recommends that council accept this option 6, which increases the base tax slightly by $50, as well as increases the commercial mill rate factor from 0.7 to 0.94, moving closer to establishing a uniform mill rate for all classes of property within the city of Warman.
So we're looking for all 3 readings tonight, and it was through the email, so we didn't have it on our sheet. So it's, I guess, is somebody willing to make the motion? Councillor Beck.
Yeah, well, this year I'd like to move that bylaw 2021-07, titled A Bylaw of the City of Warman to Fix and Levy Taxes for the year 2021, which increases the commercial mill rate from 0.87 to 0.94 and increases the base tax by $50 per property, to be read a first time.
Seconder. Councillor Ramage. Questions? Councillor Peterson.
In looking over this, I'm not sure that I like option 6. In fact, I know I don't. I would much rather see us leave the base tax as is and move the commercial mill rate to 1. We're at 1, we're still far lower than the average, and I think I don't think that we should be touching the base tax. I think I think what that does is that hits a little bit more on the lower end properties, the poorer people, and for one, I'm not okay with that.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Councillor Johnson.
I'm just wondering with the base tax, when was the last time that the base tax increased?
The base tax increased slightly last year. So every year it has increased a little bit.
Councillor Beck was next, then Councillor Tooley.
Yeah, and for me, like, this is just a comment, and certainly with this year, like, this is let's say like that in between, let's say model where let's say certainly like like the 50%, or pardon me, the $50 per per property is certainly one of those mitigating factors. Certainly in previous years and whatnot, quite honestly, it's been pretty easy to to just change the, let's say, like the mill rate factor. And obviously with this year, that certainly has a little bit more let's say like effect on those higher value properties. So certainly with this year, it is one of those like one of those let's say smoothing effects that kind of takes away a little bit from from the incremental property value, and certainly makes it a little bit more broad across the board. So certainly this year, this is one of those like one of those considerations towards like the levying of property taxes. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tooley.
Yeah, just really quick. I know kind of theoretically the theory that we've talked about being behind the base tax is that it's kind of driven by sort of base bundle of municipal services that we offer, right? Which is things like fire and protection services, some of like our roadway maintenance, like some of those kind of things, if I recall correctly. And I'm just kind of wondering if we could, I guess, just maybe have an explanation from administration again, just for everybody's benefit, about sort of how we calculate that base tax and what we sort of use as that benchmarking kind of, you know, bundle of services that the municipality offers, and why it would be that sort of what the proportional increase is this year in comparison to last year.
So you're correct. The base tax is tied into providing the services of fire services, policing services, and transportation services. So we've tried to take a percentage of that net loss amongst those three departments. And we started out, if I remember correctly, when we started linking the base tax to providing those services, we started out at 60%. And then we've just slowly started to creep that up over the past few years. And the reasoning behind choosing those services is that regardless of the assessment value of a property, every resident has equal access to those services.
Okay. And I will make just a couple comments too. And I agree that we want to tie those core. I always get a little nervous too with base tax going up, but at the same time, the core services and our costs go up, and we provide great services in those areas. I also, at the committee of the whole, this 0.94 increase for business seemed like somewhere in between. It was a chance for us to really promote our tax policy for businesses and really see if that does make a difference. Because I think, you know, just in our discussions last week at the committee of the whole, we didn't realize how good we really have it, and maybe promotions of some of those things that are there for all of our neighboring communities to know that Warman is the best place to invest right now and really have those opportunities. So I think we want to make sure that if we're having something like this, we're really promoting it and making sure that we're maybe seeing the benefits. So this was sort of that in between that then I think it opens the discussion up for future years if we want to get to one or not. But I think it's an opportunity to maybe sell our community for those opportunities, moving it up incrementally. So that was my comment. So I support this right now as it is. Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Motion for second reading. Councillor Ramage.
I move that bylaw 2021-07 entitled "A Bylaw of the City of Warman to Fix and Levy Taxes for the Year 2021, which increases the commercial mill rate from 0.87 to 0.94 and increases the base tax by $50 per property," be read a second time.
Seconder. Councillor Beck. Any more comments? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Councillor Tooley.
Sorry, just wanted to make the comment, and this one we might need City Clerk Armstrong to chime in here. But my understanding is when we're doing multiple readings at the same council meeting, we do have to have sort of that unanimous direction from council in order to move forward to second and third readings. So at this point, I'm just kind of wondering, do we have to push this to the next council meeting to be able to approve it based on that component?
To have all three readings, that is correct, but we can go to the point where the only one we need unanimous for is to have three readings at this meeting. And if we don't, then we would have to carry it to our next meeting.
I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about this for second reading? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Motion to have three readings at this meeting. Councillor Tooley.
somebody please interject if I get this wrong. But I move that bylaw 2021-07 be given all 3 readings at this regular meeting of council.
Seconder? Councillor Seed? Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? So it's defeated because we need unanimous. So we'll ask our finance manager to bring that 3rd reading to the next meeting. Okay, you can continue.
The 3rd item I have is a reserve transfer recommendation. Administration recommends transferring 50% of amortization to the fire, transportation, recreation, and utility reserves. The transfer to the transportation and recreation reserves removes the portion of amortization related to equipment and allocates that portion appropriately to the equipment reserve. Administration also recommends that the utility surplus be included in the transfer to the utility reserve. The Municipal Economic Enhancement Program funding in 2020, it is recommended that that be transferred to the purpose of that was for the construction of the lagoon expansion project. So we expent $299,183 towards this project in 2020. So the recommendation is that this funding be transferred to the sewage lagoon reserve to support upcoming expenditures. The City of Warman also received federal Safe Restart Canada plan funding to support efforts to protect health and safety, prepare for potential future waves of COVID-19, and facilitate and spurring the economy. Administration recommends that this transfer of $657,000 be made to the unfunded operating expenditure reserve to assist in potential future reductions in revenue sharing, which are currently utilized within the operating budget. Administration has allocated the gas tax revenue to the water treatment expansion reserve as the water reserve is the project approved for this funding. The transfer to the cemetery perpetual care reserve is a direct transfer from revenue and is a non-discretionary transfer. For the last number of years, approved reserve transfers in the following amounts to support prioritized strategic planning objectives: $100,000 to the aquatic reserve and $150,000 to the regional RCMP building reserve. These amounts noted above have once again been included in the prepared recommended transfer. In preparing the 2020 financial statements, administration recognized an opportunity to allocate from the unappropriated surplus. The City of Warman maintains a healthy unappropriated surplus balance and have identified that allocating $4,500,000 to appropriated reserves will still leave an unappropriated balance of $14 million. As such, included in the recommended reserve transfer is an additional transfer of the following: $3 million to the sewage lagoon reserve to support upcoming lift station capital expenses, and $1.5 million to the asset management reserve to assist in financing the city yard's land acquisition and construction. These transfers have been included in the 2020 recommended reserve transfer for 2020. Please note that both transfers to reserves and transfers from reserves are as directed by council. As such, council could choose to allocate differently than recommended by administration. The council also has the discretion to allocate from reserves as they see fit. The Cities Act requires that council not delegate their duty to authorize transfers to and from reserves. Therefore, option 1 is that council accept administration's recommendation as presented above, and option 2, that council direct administration to reallocate discretionary reserve transfers differently than recommended above for approval at this regular meeting of council effective December 31st, 2020. The recommendation I have is that council approve the above recommended reserve transfer at this regular meeting of council.
Motion, please. Councillor Peterson.
I make the motion to approve the recommended reserve transfers effective December 31st, 2020.
Seconder. Councillor Beck. Questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Carried. We'll move down. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move down to Manager Toth.
Good evening, Mayor Philipchuk, members of council. 2 items for discussion tonight. The first is the subdivision of 700 Centennial Boulevard for the new Shoppers Drug Mart. Planning and Development has received an application to subdivide the site at 700 Centennial Boulevard. This subdivision is to accommodate the new Shoppers Drug Mart, which is currently under construction. All directional access will be through a shared access with the hotel onto Clubhouse Boulevard. An additional right in, right out will be off Centennial Boulevard on the south and north ends of the site. This is a simple subdivision which does not require a rezoning or servicing agreement. Municipal reserve was done at the time of original subdivision. A copy of the proposed plan of subdivision has been provided for council's information. The recommendation tonight is that we pass the approval of the subdivision.
Motion, please. Councillor Seed.
Make the motion to approve the subdivision of part of parcel B, plan number 101935043 in the city of Warman.
Seconder. Councillor Johnson. Any questions or comments? Councillor Seed.
Just wanted to confirm, as I do believe that I asked a question previously, but Manager Toth had explained he sees no concerns with regards to this subdivision, it affecting any future business on the site or any significant traffic, I guess hampering any significant traffic.
No, we've done a bit of preliminary kind of data research in terms of the site that's further south of this one. We've also talked to the developer about future access to it. As mentioned in the previous report, we may have to adjust the timing of the lights slightly depending on kind of what's approved to the south. But for the purposes of this development and subdivision, no significant changes will be required with except for the addition of the right in, right out on Centennial Boulevard.
Thank you.
Other questions, Councillor Ramage, or yes?
Thanks very much, Mayor Philipchuk. Manager Toth, just wondering if you can speak to how the shared access agreement would be handled for traffic circulation on this site.
So basically there's like a standard access agreement which the owner of the hotel and the owner of the Shoppers Drug Mart site have entered into. We're not familiar with all of the details, but basically it involves the shared access off of Clubhouse Boulevard, all directional. The access will come in basically centered between the two sites, and both the Shoppers Drug Mart and the hotel site will have unencumbered access to use that access at any time. There's some provisions in there in terms of notifying the others if work has to take place, or there's some issues with obstruction or access. But for the most part, it's a fairly standard shared access agreement between the two sites.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Tooley.
Just to confirm that shared access agreement, that is something that ultimately gets kind of registered as caveats on the actual like land title registration system for those two properties. Would that be in fact true?
Correct. Community planning actually does that as part of their subdivision approval by registering the interest on titles.
And I guess when it comes down to it, like because I know, I mean, I've got a little bit of a concern about how that's going to work. But I mean, I guess when it comes down to the traffic flows on the sites themselves, I mean, I guess that's really not necessarily our concern as much as it is the actual property.
Yeah, our main concern, I guess, obviously we want to make sure things function appropriately and correctly, but our main concern is the access points, which kind of use our right of way to access the public roads. So whatever in terms of agreements they've come up with in terms of on-site traffic circulation and all of that, like I said, obviously we have an interest in making sure that the sites are going to work. But our main concern in terms of making sure the agreements are in place is just providing that public access from our streets.
Other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried.
The second item tonight is first reading of bylaw 2021-06. This is a bylaw to rezone Lowen Court from R3 to R2 residential. Administration had received a proposal to rezone the properties on Lowen Court from R3 residential to R2 residential. The intent is to develop larger single-family properties. Council had previously approved and rezoned the site to R3 to allow for the construction of 6 four-story apartment buildings with 200 plus units. Unfortunately, market conditions do not support this type of development, and the landowner would like to move forward with a new concept. Planning and Development, as part of its engagement plan, has sent notice to property owners backing the land, as well as the condo associations which border the east and north sides. We're only requesting first reading tonight. This basically generates our legislative requirements in terms of the advertising for the public hearing. Basically, our plan is to compile all correspondence and bring that forward as an update to council at committee of the whole in June, and then further to the public hearing currently tentatively scheduled for June 28th, 2021. The bylaw will be advertised for 2 more weeks within the local paper, and any further correspondence received will be included with that package brought to council. So the recommendation tonight is that council provide first reading for bylaw 2021-06.
Motion. Councillor Beck.
So I move to give bylaw 2021-006 first reading with the intent to hold a public hearing on June 28th, 2021.
Seconder. Councillor Peterson. Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
We will move down to economic development and Brennan.
Good afternoon, or I guess good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for being here tonight. So obviously, tonight we have one thing for consideration. The retail market analysis has been completed as far as the RFPs. So just dating back probably about a month and a half now, we were awarded the 7,500 street revitalization grant to conduct this retail market analysis. So we did receive 3 RFPs. So I did obviously have City Clerk Armstrong add them in just at the back, but I tried to, other than just looking through the projects, tried to just show off the price. Now, I know when City Manager Smith, we kind of sat down individually, looked through them ourselves, and then when we sat down, we had the same 1, 2, 3. And what I tried to do, speaking for myself, was I know the prices are near the back of the RFPs, but tried to look at those last, obviously, because I wanted to go into it with a clear understanding of what they thought their companies could do with the project and the scope and just past experiences. So kind of did a little table there for you on just, how we graded it. And based on that, we felt in a lot of categories, Colliers was the best. Obviously, it tied with Morrison Interactive in some capacities. But when it came down to cost, it's something to be considerate of. So we felt, and administration recommends that council award the contract for retail market analysis to the city, from the city of Warman to Colliers at a bid price of $9,000.
Okay, motion, please. Councillor Ramage.
I move that the contract for retail market analysis of the city of Warman be awarded to Colliers at a bid of $9,000.
Seconder. Councillor Seed, questions? Councillor Ramage.
Thanks very much, Mayor Philipchuk. And thanks for putting this presentation together, Manager Gavismo. Question that I would have is, with such a price differential, how were the scopes comparable? Is there anything that we should be watching out for scope creep from if Colliers is awarded this, or do you feel that they are able to hit all of the scope that we've asked for?
Yeah, great question. Just from going over kind of the phases they want to do this in, is just as well as the executive summary. They also followed up. I didn't add this in because it was after I had submitted my report, but they've also followed up and asked if any questions. That was the only company to do so. But I do think they just in talking to Wendy, I just think they have a great grasp of what we're trying to do. And I know that Mayor Philipchuk and City Manager Smith had also talked just about kind of the strategic placing of just areas of the city that could use maybe certain industries, is also something that they were willing to do on top. So it just seemed like they were super welcoming, and then just also to I think a lot of these companies do have databases that they can refer back to, but I mean Colliers is obviously huge throughout the world, and so their database, just being able to not only the ones that they've done in this area with this team that has presented, they also I had asked for some more copies of just direct ones that maybe other teams have done throughout the world, and they sent about 5 or 6 just today too, just so I could get a grasp and a feel. So I do think there is a pretty alarming, I guess, price difference. But for me, I think City Manager Smith can attest to this too. That was the one that he had at number 1 too, and they had a good understanding of what we wanted to do. Their past projects kind of spoke heavily, and then when you come down to it being 5,000-6,000 less than Insight Tricks and half of Morris Interactive. Now Morris Interactive's proposal was impressive too, but I just felt like it was almost too much in a lot of ways of both price, but also I didn't know if they were going to hone in on maybe what we need. They could do a grand scheme of everything, but for myself and just going through the our strat planning and just I also thought it was huge how they touched on like the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in our community. And I know that you guys did such a good job of doing that as councillors and mayor, but just getting that too from an outside source based on fact and stats, they were willing to do that as well. So that just impressed me. So to answer your question, I think from a comfort level for me, and won't speak for City Manager Smith, just felt that this was the proper recommendation for council.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate that, and I would agree with the recommendation. I think it'll just be important to make sure that the outcomes of this report are linked into what we're looking to do strategically with the economic development portfolio. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Johnson, you're good now. Any other questions or comments? And I guess just a little bit of a follow-up to Councillor Ramage's question. Any additional scope would have to be approved.
Yes.
Correct. So there'd be no extra costs unless they're approved. So I think there is that we have in place. The other thing is, I know we have our South Central and Centennial, but will they also take a look at maybe the next sort of level out too? And I guess very high level, because as we sort of think that we have particular areas, but then we have some places that maybe don't fit in any of those 3 right now, that maybe could that be at least looked at when we're looking at market analysis. I think that's something that at least something that I want on the table.
For sure. No, City Manager Smith reached out to me on Friday and just kind of followed up with the conversation you had with you, Mayor. And so then I did reach out to Wendy, and obviously it's not in the report here. But I did reach out to just understand, like, I guess a little bit more of, like, they have a good grasp of Centennial and Central, and they'll be reaching out to us for information on business licenses, things like that. But no, they were willing to get a more of a high level bird's eye view of just like maybe what is lacking in the South Industrial and those areas as well, to just give us obviously we want to focus on certain things, and throughout the strat planning, obviously Central is obviously a huge thing for me, but just even from prospecting businesses coming into the community, it would be good to have like just other parts. So Wendy did say that that's something that they could do, and at that point she said that it shouldn't be any extra cost. It'd be part of their generic kind of look at the lay of the land. Now if that changes, obviously that would come back to council to be approved, but they just seem super easy to work with, and that was a huge once City Manager Smith reached out to that, and I reached out to Wendy, it just seemed like they were willing to help us in any way possible. So that was encouraging.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And motion to file admin reports. Councillor Peterson.
I'll make the motion to file the administration reports for Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Johnson. Questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move down to my report. And as you can see, many things have changed since I wrote it. There's no fire ban. There's been some rain. But the wind dried up a lot of the rain, so we're back to another cycle here. So I guess we had the success with our COVID campaign there with our shots. really, any questions from my report? I think all of us are finding, like, when we have to get reports ready a week ahead, you can see how tough that is. And I know with even the newspaper, we see that sometimes. So we do our best. Okay, and Julian's not here tonight. He had another meeting, another commitment. But our plan is at the next meeting to give him a bit of a gift and a send off. And I mean, it was the most awkward year that we never really had an in-meeting session with him the whole time that, and you know, through an election year and everything else. It does look different for you new counselors. Like we go through the process of looking for a youth candidate fairly soon here, and then they start right in September again. So hopefully it's a normal year next year for our youth candidate, but that's our plan with Julian. So if there's no comments there, then we will move down to need a motion to file my report. Councillor Tooley.
I could do the motion. I just have a question before that, though.
Sure.
I just want to double check with administration that we actually have got the process, or that we've got the ball started on the process to start looking for a youth council representative for next year, just to make sure that that's kind of is in the works already.
I can answer that. I've been in contact with the school. I'm just waiting to hear back from them to get it going.
Thank you, Catherine. And beyond that, I move that the mayor's report for Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 be filed as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Seed. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. And we'll do our roundtable. We'll start with Councillor Beck.
Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, I would just, you know, certainly like to draw, you know, certainly a reminder there for June 1st. That being the conversation with SUMA on the rebranding discussion, and certainly like the, you know, let's say the vote for the name change. So this year, again, that will basically consist of a presentation to start off on June 1st. And voting will take place until June 3rd, at which, you know, let's say all of our members will have an opportunity to take in all of the information, certainly have a chance to reflect, and certainly have fruitful discussion on it, and then proceed with their vote over that 3-day period. So just wanted to mention that. And beyond that, certainly great to see the, let's say, the vaccination rollout continuing here in Warman. It looks like there's another one planned here for, you know, for Saturday and whatnot. So certainly a lot of, you know, let's say support throughout our city for that. And that's all that I have here tonight. So thank you.
Just a quick question about that. Is it one member, one vote, or is there any weighting to communities?
Yeah, so this year, you know, like there again for Warman, with this year, like, you know, with this, like we're all voting members. So with this year, each one of us will actually have a voting, you know, let's say like a, you know, certainly have a vote in that. You know, certainly for the tiered structure, let's say throughout, you know, let's say like our other members, this year, you know, like that could be different, you know, let's say for them, depending on their size, but certainly for us, because we're all voting members at the SUMA convention, we all carry on with our vote. It's the same structure for that.
Thank you. We'll move to Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Philipchuk. So I had a committee meeting this morning, Prairie Rivers Reconciliation Committee. Always a pleasure being with them and just being around amazing people. Still in the planning process for the fall conference that will be November 8th, 9th, and 10th of next year. So still planning and getting some ideas and looking for speakers. Other than that, I've got nothing else to report except I was in line for the drive-through for my kids for 5 hours. So it was pretty slick getting in and out. So they do a really good job actually of kind of getting people in and vaccinated, and staff willing and able and checking in each of the cars for your 15-minute wait after the 5 hours. So it's been good. And it's really nice to see that there's a lot of people that are vaccinating.
Thank you. We will move to Councillor C.
Thank you, Mayor Philipchuk. It's again ongoing as usual. I haven't had any further discussion since our last meeting with the new staff sergeant, but I do check in with Chief Austin quite frequently. He's indicated that all things are status quo with the fire department. They have had a couple of members that were off due to COVID restrictions, purely out of a abundance of caution. A couple of them with their kids that had been deemed close contacts, and as a result, they have made a decision amongst the fire department that anybody that's considered to be even a distant contact with a confirmed COVID case will isolate from the fire hall for a minimum of 2 weeks. And Russ, or rather Chief Austin, has no concerns about the availability of members at this point. He says that they're well staffed and able to accommodate all of that. Did have a Legends Golf Board meeting last week, and there's no other way to say it, but the golf course is busting at the seams. They're up almost 100 members this year, which has defied their odds. I have requested some more information from the GM so I can present that to council through an email, but they are almost bewildered at how busy it has been, how strong the month of May has been for them, and right across the boards, even the driving ranges have been almost at capacity some days. They did approve to put down some artificial turf at the driving range to get people out there earlier, and all the reports on it are just overwhelming. People love it. The only real concern they have right now is that on some of their seniors' nights, they're running out of carts. So they've encouraged some people to ride double in carts, and certainly as COVID restrictions start to get loosened a little bit, they're confident that they'll be able to overcome that. They did mention that they haven't actually had anybody miss a tee time because of a cart, but they have literally brought carts to the starting green so that people can jump on them and get going. So by all accounts, it's really, really good. Really excited to say they have a new patio plan for sitting right outside of the main, kind of by the snack shack, if you will. I've seen some conceptual drawings of it, and there's going to be some exchanges with local companies that are going to provide some of that in lieu of full payment on it. There was some indications lastly that the the storage cart shed was having some issues with pilings. That was scheduled to be completed this spring. However, that is not going to be completed because they are just way too busy. So the pilings have been purchased and they will be put in at a later date towards the end of the year, most likely in the fall. But by all indications, everybody is very optimistic about the course, and the greens are in awesome shape. So it's definitely encourage everybody to get out there and get around it if they can. Thank you, Mayor Polchuk.
Great. Well, and they're dealing with some extreme weathers too. So it's exciting times though. I've gone by there a few times and it's always packed. We will move to Councillor Peterson.
Well, I guess I didn't forget. I forgot to mute myself after the last time. Yeah, it wasn't much going on this last week. I did confirm with Debbie from the chamber that they'll be having me resume joining them for their meetings in sometime in August. She'll get in touch with me exactly when that is. There hasn't been any business task force meetings this last week. I'm going to assume that's because of Wimbexa, that they're a little busy getting that going. So when those resume, I'll let council know. Other than that, not much else.
Okay, and we do have Wimbexa at council chambers on Thursday. For those, let me know if you can make it, and we can have that opportunity. Move to Councillor Ramage.
Thanks, Mayor Philipchuk. One of the really exciting things that I'm finding is the pace of our development permits. Housing and other permits such as garages, decks, and basements are up significantly over the year before. I think that's a really positive sign for the city as we continue to come out of COVID and as we continue to grow. The other commercial is up as well, not not as significantly in numbers, but certainly the Shoppers site and Meltwich have driven those values up quite a bit. So again, this is good news for the city. I continue to look at the process and what we had put together for the intersection of Clubhouse and First. I think in reviewing everything that was put forward, my approach would be to wait until our next budget session. Given that we have accepted those RFPs, I think we have good numbers that we can put a budget around there, and then we can revisit it at that time. I think it still remains an issue. I think traffic safety within the city is an important issue, particularly as it relates to our children and anyone who's walking around the city. So I'll bring that up at our next budget session. And just a thanks to Manager Toth and administration for their work on the loan court proposal. I know I've taken a few calls on it and appreciated the responses that I've got back from Manager Toth on some of my questions that some residents have put towards me. So that's it for my report.
Thank you. And Councillor Tooley.
Thanks, Mayor Filipchuk. Just a couple of quick high-level things. A library board meeting last week, and just maybe want to pass along the information that the chair of the library board actually tendered his resignation. So that's a gentleman by the name of Jason Rain, and the reason Jason tendered his resignation is actually due to a move that he's going to be doing just for his family, just for employment opportunities. So it's not a negative reason that he's resigning from the board. It's just that he's no longer going to be living in the community and can no longer function as the board chair. So in the interim, Shelby Smith,
yes,
yeah, is going to be taking over the reins as the board chair. And there's already been a couple things that she's put out for a couple of things she's already started, and I definitely see she's going to jump into that role and take it on quite well. I believe we're going to be doing some advertising for additional board members because we will be down members now as a result of Jason's resignation, and so I think that's going to be coming in the near future. But just would like to sort of take an opportunity to thank Jason just in the council meeting forum here for his service to the board, and he's done a fantastic job with that role as the board chair over the last few years. And then just coming up this week, I think there's a couple things on the go. We have a recreation advisory committee meeting tomorrow evening, and it's going to be kind of weird. That's going to be, I think, my first meeting actually in a live person capacity for a little while. So, but there's some things on the agenda that I think require more of an in-person discussion than a technology-based meeting. And looking forward to probably being a part of the Wimbex Awards on Thursday night. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. I didn't even realize it was live tomorrow. I would have probably been looking at Zoom tomorrow night at about 8 o'clock and then having to truck it over. So thank you for that reminder. We are going to get that switch over happening here, and I'm hopefully June our meetings for council are going to be live. That's the plan right now for sure. So thank you for all the reports. We will move down to correspondence then. So motion for our correspondence. We want that one. Councillor Seed.
Make the motion or move that the letter from Kathleen Bernard, founder, president of Save Your Skin Foundation, was received by council on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, be filed as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Ramage, any questions or comments about this one? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Move down to accounts. Motion, please. Councillor Beck.
Great. So I motion to approve the city accounts as presented by checks numbered 25319 to 25414 for the total amount of $883,930.93, and the payroll vouchers numbered 12237 through 12318 in the amount of $112,863.30 for Tuesday, May 25th, 2021.
Seconder? Councillor Peterson, any questions? Okay, see none. All those in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Tully,
I will make the motion to adjourn the Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 regular meeting of council.
your hand is frozen up there. How appropriate for the adjournment. Seconder, Councillor Seed. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. That's all we have. Thank you, everyone. It's a busy week, so good luck with all your meetings this week. And those of you that can make it to Wimbexon, let me know. I think we have the appropriate spacing to be able to. We will be fine in council chambers, but just please send me a quick email that you plan on being there. So it's council chambers at 7 p.m. Okay, for just our council would be so. Just to keep our numbers appropriate for that event. And then we would be watching what they present live if people want to come. Okay. A couple of us made it, 3 of us made it last year. So, and we're all here. So